John Grom, and welcome to our 275th Right and Left Discussion Forum. We hold our televised discussions twice monthly to demonstrate the value of civil, productive, open-minded political dialogue. Today, our panel will discuss the current and possibly the recent past political environment in Wadsworth. Today's discussion begins with Susan Hanlon, retired Dean of the College of Business at the University of Akron and former member of the Wadsworth City Council. Next is Patty Haskins, retired teacher of mathematics at Wadsworth Senior High and current member of the Wadsworth City Council. Mike Reese of Howard Hanna. Congratulations, Mike, on winning this recent election. He is newly elected to City Council. And last but not least, Bryan Laubaugh, President of R&B Financial Services. Now, when I look at this panel, I can't think of any better panel to discuss politics in Wadsworth. We've got two former members of the Wadsworth City Council. We've got a recently elected, I keep wanting to say, and the wife of the mayor, but it's the husband of the mayor. So, Susan, what is your take on the political environment in Wadsworth? I know you live out of town now, but you've been staying in touch.
Well, and I actually feel like I'm partially to blame for the current issues. So currently and recently, in the recent past, the Wadsworth politics, and I'm not going to say politics, I'm going to say Wadsworth Council, is unusually disruptive. And I don't think, and it's become hostile. It's become a hostile environment, and they're not really governing very well because there's so much hostility against the administration, which is not a new thing. That was there a while ago, and then it seemed to have gone away, and now it's back. And of course, the reason I say I'm partially to blame is because I left an unfinished, I resigned because we moved out of town, out of state actually. And instead of what I expected and what I think should have happened, one of the council at large candidates who was running uncontested should have been named to my position, 6 months. Instead, one particular person decided he wanted on council, and he got very political to make it happen. There was a lot of strong arming. And so now that person continues to just raise what I think very unproductive situations. And I'm really disappointed. On the other hand, I will say I think the outcome of the recent elections was good. And the person that I'm talking about, they did do one thing, is that they made people mad enough that two of the less productive people on council, less competent, I think, were voted out. So it's going to be a whole new, fresh council. It's going to be very inexperienced. But if they will work together, we will continue to have a great city. I don't think there's any place for partisanship in local councils. And there are a lot of towns and cities in Ohio that are not partisan. The elections are not partisan. I don't care how liberal or how conservative you are, you have to fix the streets and you have to get the garbage picked up. What political philosophy even has to come into that? And that's what I think is going on now, is it's just people that are hyper political are bringing this into council, and it's not good.
Yeah. Patty, what are your thoughts?
I agree with everything that Susan said. When you look at Wadsworth is one of the few communities in Medina County that actually has council run based on their party. For example, in Medina, it's non-party politics, and there's a reason for that. because as a member of council, I don't think that you should be there to support national political issues and to toe the line for the Democratic or the Republican Party uh, uh, bills that they have. What you are there for is for the betterment of the city itself, and that's the city of Wadsworth. And what you can do, as Susan said, for the streets, for trash pickup, for electricity, for all of the services that a city provides. Now, and very honestly, for my time on council, I found that our administration was fantastic at that. I was very pleased with them. Now, did I agree with everything they did? No. And no one is going to, agree with everything 100% of the time. But when I disagreed or had questions, I didn't have to call administration. They contacted me and said, hey, listen, we understand you have some concerns. Can we answer any questions? I mean, there was this total cooperation, and that's what you need. What we're seeing now on council, and hopefully won't have as much of it after the election, is that we have people on council that are there only to serve their party line. I know that when I lost election, the idea was that, and it was promoted by someone who was not on council then, but is now on council, that they didn't want to have any Democrats on council because, God forbid, I would have destroyed city council by being on there, and that they had to have all Republican. So that's what they've had since I left city council, all Republicans. So now what do? Who do you go after? Well, you start eating yourself and you go after other members of your party and saying they're not Republican enough and towing the line. And it's when we get into those issues that we have an ineffective council. I think one of the biggest debates I ever saw in council was actually in between when I had served a temporary term and then before I was elected for my first of 10 years. And Susan was on council at the time, but there was a move. I think it was a resolution in Arizona, if I'm not mistaken. And I don't even remember what it was for, but council decided that they wanted to pass a bill to support this resolution in Arizona. Now, whether you agreed with it or not was not the problem. The problem was, what in the world was Wadsworth City Council doing, trying to support or go against a resolution in another state that had nothing to do with it? I think the public hearing that they had on this resolution was the longest one I've ever seen on council. And I would say 90% of the people who spoke in favor of it weren't from Wadsworth. They were from all over Ohio, and some were from out of state. So when you start trying to bring national politics into a local situation, that's when you run into trouble. We need to be, as members of city council, people that are there to work to improve services in the community and do what's best for the community. And whether you're a Democrat or a Republican shouldn't make a difference. Now, you may have different approaches to how problems get solved, but that's what you do when you discuss those problems. And hopefully in the near future, we're going to see more of that done than as I've seen in the last year or so.
Okay. Mike, it sounds like you're going to be walking into a hornet's nest.
Yeah, it looks like it. I'm actually very excited though. I've been watching city council from the outside for the last few years. I've been going to the meetings and following what's going on. And as you know, I volunteer a lot in Wadsworth. So I kind of have my ear to the street, know what's people, are complaining about or whatnot. So I think that that's an advantage going in. I also, I've built relationships with a lot of people on council already and administration. I hope that we can all work together, to get things done. As council, I know we're, stewards of the people, and we want to be financially secure in the city. So, those are kind of the things I'm looking at going in. I want to make sure that we're making decisions that, benefit the people, but we're not being irresponsible, I guess. And I think the administration has done a very great job so far in the last few years. There's some things I might disagree with here and there, but for the most part, and it is sad to see that sometimes that the city council meetings, the way they devolve into name calling and shouting, as they have recently. I don't think that's productive at all. You know, you're supposed to be building bridges, not walls, when you're working together. Um, and it's hard to get anything done when nobody wants to talk to each other. So I'm hoping that with the new council coming in, there's 4 new people coming in, um, that we can really work together. And I know the other candidates very well that are coming in, so that I think is helpful. Already have an outside relationship with them from the community. I think we could do great things in the next couple years, if everybody's willing to do the homework and buckle down and get things done. But
How many
it has been crazy.
how many new people are coming onto council?
It's going to be 4 new people. So
What's the total membership of council?
7 plus.
there's 7 total. Yeah.
Oh, so it's going to be more than half our new blood, huh?
Yeah. So it's going to be very interesting.
Bryan, what are your thoughts? In fact, what do you hear at home?
Well, let me say this for any city council members that are watching this program, that these are my opinions and my opinions alone. I don't want anyone to ascribe what I'm about to say to my wife, because it seems that on social media, certain members of city council have basically taken umbrage that I would actually get on social media and express my own opinions about what's going on in the city. So I just want to make that disclosure that these are my opinions and my opinions only. I am so happy that we have an infusion of new blood on city council. For the life of me, for some reason, as Republicans, we love to shoot ourselves in the foot. To go out when Susan had moved and had to resign and basically recruit or make it seem like you have to ask one of the most divisive lightning rods in politics to come on to city council and to start throwing grenades at the administration. For what purpose? For the life of me, it was like if I was running Mike Reese's campaign or the other on the Democratic side, I would be giddy that somehow they've now opened the door to basically give the opposition the opportunity to come in and say, hey guys, we are totally different. We're not going to do this kind of stuff. These perceived issues that were just sort of drummed up out of thin air. I mean, your head has to spin. Now, I'll be honest with you, for the last 25 or so years, I've been watching meetings. I made a commitment not to go to any meetings. When Robin first ran, she said, don't go to those meetings because you're just going to say things, you're going to get me in trouble. So I would not go, but I follow what's going on in Wadsworth, and the relationship between city council and the administration is at an all-time rock bottom low. You don't show up to a meeting after you get all the information, you get the agenda, and all of a sudden out of the blue, you throw a grenade. You throw these things out of numbers that are just totally out of context. And you sit back and you go, who wrote this plan to get our people reelected? And Robin's not, to be honest with you, when you talk about the administration, Robin really is the only one that is running, and she's not even running. So what good does it do to drum up these perceived issues at 3 weeks before an election? For the life of me, I don't know who hired what people were in these people's ears to say, let's go out and just first let's just start this thing that somehow the city can't be trusted. I'll tell you, Kathy Fix is an auditor. She is a bulldog.
Yeah.
Agreed.
These numbers are just not something that the administration pulls out of thin air and says,
And Very fiscally conservative.
Very fiscally conservative.
Well,
And
so
it's
is
done a lot
Robin.
for the city.
Oh yeah, and to be considered a rhino because you don't want to bend the knee to this crazy Trumpish attitude that has infected the Medina County Republican Party and the executive committee. It's bad. We're going to keep losing elections left and right because that doesn't play on a local level. And I'll tell you why. People know people. They know Mike Reese. They know these people. They know Robin. And they're like, where does this garbage come from? You know, the nasty phone calls, the gossip that people just are so disappointed with the administration. I mean, I can't for the life of me, we can't go to Giant Eagle. I stopped going with Robin because the 20-minute go in and get something turns into be an hour because she sits there and she talks with people. But so for the life of me, someone should send the city council, whoever came up with this plan, a nice big Christmas card. Thank you very much. Thank you. It was the gift that just kept on giving. And they put, for the life of me, the parks. You're going to go after the parks?
Are you? I have a comment about that. This whole thing about putting it on the ballot and, no external debt. Taxpayers in Wadsworth have been paying their taxes to go towards the athletic complex for years.
Exactly.
The money is there. And also the notion that you shouldn't have external debt. I mean, that's what good business is you leverage your assets.
Right.
I mean, nobody would hardly ever tell you to pay cash for a house unless, interest rates are crazy.
Right.
And we have created, because of the current administration, we have like the top financial debt ratings. We could borrow anything we wanted.
Exactly.
And that's good business. It's not smart to just dole out all your cash.
Exactly. And when you look at the third-party rating agencies that rate Wadsworth, I mean, it's the top of the heap. And when you can go out and borrow money for a capital expenditure,
which is what you're supposed to do.
Susan, you
you
don't need a PhD to figure this out, guys.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
That's the reason we have that outdoor pool.
Right.
When we did all of that, construction in the city, that was not done out of cash that we had on hand, but it was it was something that was needed in town.
Yeah.
And it was something
we
that
planned
was promised to people.
Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah.
And then we brought Kathy Fix in, and Kathy switched us over to RETA, which is the Regional Income Tax Authority, which it really boosted the amount of money from income tax it was bringing into the city. That lady is beyond competent.
Yeah.
I mean, she is fantastic as far as doing things. And then
it makes no sense.
We have people on council like Susan, and I still remember this when I was first on council, and we needed to improve our roads. And Susan was chair of Public Ways Committee. And it was because of her mainly that there were studies done. We decided what was the best way to improve the roads. And we instituted a tax, specifically designed to improve our roads. And it doesn't take a genius to just drive around in area communities and see how much better our roads are taken care of.
Well, that was the point where we did not have the money to fix the street.
Right.
And so we needed to go ask for more money. But the reason we wanted to put that on the ballot was we wanted to let people have a choice. And I always like that we put that 10-year limit on it. So every 10 years, that thing will come back up to vote.
Yeah.
And if we have the money, we don't need more money, they should stop it,
Yeah.
But that's not an issue either. That's Republican or Democrat.
No.
Exactly.
And this whole idea that you can have no Democrats on council and
ridiculous.
You can have no Republicans unless they are far right, Trump's followers.
It's so destructive.
It is.
Exactly.
And what's great about it is the body politic in Wadsworth saw that and said, enough is enough.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous. Let's just clean house. We need an infusion of new blood in there, people that are going to look at things. And what amazes me is we are so fortunate as a city to attract these very high-skilled professional people that come. These aren't people, this isn't the good old boy network where, someone goes out and says, hey, my brother-in-law needs a job. Let's make him the director of public service, or let's put him in safety because he used to be a volunteer fireman 28 years ago. These are professional people. I mean, from the chief of police to the service director, they can get a job anywhere else.
Yeah, and
Matt
they will.
Hiscock is a former FBI.
And they will, exactly. They will.
Matt is a former member of the FBI.
Yeah.
He is an attorney. He has served as our safety director.
Yeah.
The guy is brilliant.
Yeah.
He is
really even tempered.
Yeah, very patient.
Handles himself well.
Tom Morris, the economic development, when they were thinking about, well, who do we get? Tom lost his election, yada, yada, yada. He's an attorney. He knows the inner workings of the city. It was a natural fit. There's a lot of things that guy does that doesn't have to go through the law department, because he can look at things and say, hey, I'm an attorney. Let's do it this way. It'll get a lot quicker. But for the life of me, it's like that Charlie Brown and Lucy, and Lucy's like, I'm going to let you kick the field goal, Charlie Brown. And at the last minute, she pulls the ball out. I could not imagine. And I've been involved in politics for many years. The plan that somebody must have come up with and said, here's what we're going to do, guys, and we're really going to win.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of arrogance involved. I mean, I don't know how you explain some of this behavior other than just plain old arrogance.
Where are the manners at? You don't talk to people that way. You don't cut people off. You don't tell
if
people.
you've been to Washington, D.C., that is what they do.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And
but,
it's
and then the fact that all of these issues should have been brought up in a committee first.
Exactly.
To drop legislation at the last
That's
minute.
a really good point, Patty.
Right.
Really good point.
Right.
And I think that was done. Well, I'm sure it was done just so to make sure that things could be voted on and brought up before the election, before a certain member was off of council.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is, there's an order to things, regular order. Right. You have an idea, you take it into your committee meetings, you talk about it, you work all these things out, you get the vote, then it gets put on the agenda, things like that. I'm sure Patty and Susan can get into the granular thing, but none of that was done. It was just shove it through, and all of a sudden, everybody's sitting there flat-footed with a resolution or a possibility of an ordinance because we got to basically hamstring the administration. It was ridiculous.
Has any of that stuff actually passed, or is it still okay?
It'll be on third reading at the next
reading.
All that has to happen is get some people to not show up for a meeting, and they won't be able to vote.
Yeah.
Well, it's on third reading at the next next
so
meeting.
It didn't used to be that way.
No.
It never. No.
For the 1960s.
I'm going to tell you where, to my knowledge, when it started was the person that was president of council when I was on council, when Patty, you and I were on council. That's where that antagonism towards the administration started.
Agreed.
And the trying to bring real politics, national issues into the local level. That's when it started. And then there's just been a couple people that have kept it going, ready to get.
That's unfortunate.
What are your feelings about going into that hornet's nest?
Oh, I mean, it doesn't bother me at all. I'm excited to get in there and work. So
well, the hornets will be gone.
The hornet nest. I mean, it's going to be all different people anyway.
It won't be a hornet's nest anymore.
It won't
no, the
really
hornets will be gone.
It won't be.
It's going to be, like I said, I already know everybody that I'm going in with, so I feel like I can work with everybody. So I'm not concerned at all.
I think it's going to be good. And I think if they would manage to pass something between now and January 1st, you could come right in January 1st and undo it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's true too. Yeah.
Yeah.
You all seem to be pretty optimistic that things are going to be peaceful and quiet.
100%.
Yeah.
Okay, I got a question.
100%.
Susan, your replacement, is that person still on council?
Yes, until January
Till-
1st.
Oh,
January 1st.
so he'll be off then.
Yes.
Well, that does make a
Which
big.
was what was so dumb. It was a 6-month appointment.
Yeah. And Susan is right. There were 2 people
Yeah.
that went through the primaries that were at large. They were
Yeah.
and they should have
Uncontested.
been, one of those individuals should have been placed in that
Yes.
position. And they weren't.
That's
And there
what I
was a
thought
lot.
they would
Yeah,
do.
absolutely. I think that's what
Yeah.
everybody
Absolutely.
thought.
Absolutely.
Because they're going to need the experience, and what better way to get it than with
Well, and
everybody
they
that's been
were
on for a while, you know?
already, quote, elected. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
exactly.
Now you have
Central
a bunch of new
Committee.
people, four people, you know, on there
Yeah.
that more than half that are
Yeah.
not been
I
on
mean, the
council
Central
before.
Committee
So
just disregarded the process.
Yeah.
You know, it's not real different than when Kamala Harris got anointed the Democrats
Right.
candidate for president.
yeah.
Yeah.
I would
Yeah.
agree with that. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
unfortunately, you know, party rule is you can do that,
Yes.
you know, on both
Yeah.
sides.
If
Yeah.
you want
Yeah.
There's
to,
nothing
you
there's
can,
nothing
right?
against it. So
If you have
I
nothing
think-
better to do. Yep.
Mike and the other 3 are going to find an administration that is
Yeah.
very transparent, that gets audited out the wazoo by the state
Yeah.
and Kathy Fix. Nothing
Yeah.
gets by these people. That there isn't anything nefarious out there that's going
Yeah.
on, that they're trying to sneak numbers by or anything like
Yeah.
that.
Now, you know, there are a few people that are not the best communicators when it comes to communicating financials. There are a few people on the staff, but you know, there's other people you can talk to, and if you understand what you're looking at and you ask them the right questions, you can get the information that you need. They're not all great at, and I will say governmental accounting is not easy to understand.
Right.
You know, and I think that's what happens sometimes. People don't understand governmental accounting, so then they get all defensive. But it's all fund accounting. You know, it's not like business, accounting. And you can't just, it is hard sometimes to figure out how much total money you have because
Well,
it's
and you
all
look
these
at the-
little funds
Yeah.
and you can't switch them around.
And you
Right.
look at all the internal loans that go on, and people don't
Yeah, all that
understand that
stuff.
happens.
Right.
Yeah.
And so it's not easy stuff to communicate.
But
Yeah.
Confusing.
Mike, there's nothing nefarious about it.
No.
It's government.
No.
It's the way it is.
Yeah.
That's just the way the state and cities that are of
Yeah.
our size, they're required to do it that way.
They're
It's
required-
not like
all-
your
all
checkbook. Yeah.
Governments
Yeah.
are. Yeah.
Yeah. All governments are
Well,
like
I
that.
mean, the federal government's the same way. It's fund
Yeah.
accounting. Yeah.
Right.
There's no balance sheet.
Yeah.
You've all done a great job of summing up what's going on in Wadsworth these days, and I hope that a lot of people from Wadsworth watch this program.
Yeah.
We'll find out. Well, we'll see you all in 2. Well, no, we won't. 2 weeks is Thanksgiving.
oh yeah.
We have a lot to be thankful for.
Yes. Yeah.
get
We have a lot to be thankful for.
You are watching WCTV, Wadsworth Community Television.